Welcome back. We continue now with more inspirational ideas. This morning, we have already talked about the advantages of integrating non-EU migrants in our society. And now we are going to talk about the benefits of pilgrimage in Europe. As you know, Galicia's region is one perfect example of it. And to talk about it, we have with us Mr. Martín López Nores, who is an associate professor at Atlantic, a research center from telecommunication technologies from University of Vigo, Universidad de Vigo. Mr. López, please, it's your turn. Welcome.
Thank you, Aida. Good morning, everyone. This is going to be a introduction to this project, Horizon 2020 project that we started in January this year, which is called rurALLURE, and it's all about the promotion of rural museums and heritage sites in the vicinity of the European pilgrimage routes. As Aida said, okay, I expect many of you to know this place, which is the destination of the many ways to Santiago de Compostela that go from all over the Iberian Peninsula and also get pilgrims from as far as Lithuania, Romania, Greece, Scandinavia, the British Islands, and many other places also. Many pilgrims from the Americas, from Japan, China in the recent years. It's quite a phenomenon that we have been developing and promoting in our region in Galicia for like 30 years. And that has turned to be one very important asset in our cultural and touristic offer beyond the religious aspect as well, which is also important for many of us. So everyone knows about Santiago, of course, but it was very pleasant to find that there are tens, perhaps hundreds of pilgrimage destination places all over Europe. You may recognize the St. Peter's Square in Rome, for example, the Mont Saint-Michel in the north of France. Perhaps up here in the upper left corner, we have a lesser known place, which is in Trondheim. It's Nidaros Cathedral in Norway. It is roughly the equivalent of Santiago de Compostela for the northern countries. And next to it, we have a small sanctuary, which is very important in Central Europe for Hungarians, Romanians, and some other Christian populations in the region. It's called Csíksomlyó or Sumuleuciuc in Romanian. Well, knowing that there are these and many other pilgrimage destinations and routes already established with historical routings, the foundations for our project started from the observation that every year, many days, perhaps weeks, in some cases months, by foot, by bicycle, or on horseback, we have an increasing number of people that do this for non-religious reasons, which come as additional audiences for what we were already having since the 1990s. And from the point of view of the European Commission, which is funding the Horizon 2020 project, they see this as an important economic political asset for Europe. First, because these travelers, counting hundreds of millions every year, and especially on holy years as we are having this year and next one in Santiago, we have lots of travelers mobilizing substantial resources, even if they are not the most heavily expending tourists, as we may call them. And from the political side, we have that many of these routes are transnational. They bring together people from many different countries, and it is always a very good thing to foster cultural exchange, cross-border relationships. And we are starting to wonder about pilgrimage as a potential success, like the Erasmus program has been for the youth. Just make people move around, meet each other, and many good things came from that. So perhaps pilgrimage could be the equivalent for posterior ages. So what do we have as the main motivation for us? Well, the first thing is that the impact of the pilgrimage is predominantly noticed only on the places located directly on the official paths. Very little people go into the rural surrounding areas to explore, to get to know the territories, and so on. So we could tell to begin with, tell the people about what is to be found in these rural areas, and then mobilize transport, dining, accommodation resources, cultural activities, and so on. Of course, we can do this by exploiting the vast cultural heritage of these places, small museums, rural museums, heritage sites, local culture. There's so much to offer. And we have the advantage that pilgrimage is typically planned with flexibility regarding dates. It's weeks, nearing months in many cases. There are degrees of flexibility regarding the distance traveled over successive journeys, over the places to rest. So we want to use technology in order to expose the pilgrims to serendipitous findings, to things that they don't know exist, but they may be interested in finding as they walk. So perhaps this is also an opportunity in the post-COVID era, because it's noticeable that rural destinations have gained interest for ensuring less crowded and safer environments. We see also many people seeking spiritual or psychological relief after this big shock that we had. And the policymakers, as I said before, are striving to promote domestic tourism, outdoor activities, international encounters, and so on. Then, wondering about these ideas, we established a consortium, a very big and complex to manage one, to be honest, consisting of 16 different institutions, bringing together researchers in history, archaeology, sociology, tourism, political science, technology, and from different organizations as well, like IT companies, public institutions, public and private agencies, foundations, museums. And basically, we have three goals to develop. First, we want to create empirical evidence of things that we can do in several pilot studies about the idea of taking people out of their original routes, offering them something interesting from the cultural and touristic point of view, and then letting them join back the original trips that they were expecting. We wanted to develop 4 pilot studies to gather empirical evidence of what can work well and what doesn't. We want to support all these things by supporting a IT platform, providing tools for trip planning, recommendations, delivery of multimedia contents to people as they walk in certain locations where there is something interesting to be told. And from these experiences, we want to come up with a set of recommendations for the next decade and see whether there is any potential interest in developing some common European regulation so that many initiatives that are starting or are a little bit behind the level of promotion and perfection that we have achieved with Camino de Santiago, how we can exchange practices, success and failure stories, and develop all these initiatives as a whole ecosystem for the benefit of the whole of Europe. This is going to happen in 4 pilots to start with. Of course, we want to explore things and ideas here in the Iberian Peninsula, with a focus in the northwest of Spain and also the north of Portugal. And we will be doing that on the topic of literary heritage to start with. Plenty of writers that we can tell stories about the territory to pilgrims as they walk. In Scandinavia, we are working with ethnographic heritage on the ways to Trondheim, which get visitors and pilgrims from Sweden, north of Germany, and Denmark as well. On the ways to Rome, we have 3 different routes coming from north, east, and west of Europe, Via Francigena, Via Romea Strata, Via Romea Germanica. To begin with, we are going to explore the topics of thermal heritage, and there in Central Europe, covering from Poland to Bosnia-Herzegovina, Austria, all the way east to Chicxulub in Romania. We are going to explore first the topics of natural heritage as the excuse to tell people new things that they wouldn't find otherwise. And that's pretty much it. This is starting initially in the context of these 4 pilots, but we are starting to build a network of institutions so that by 2023, we will be able to start new pilots in other countries as well. So if any of these ideas is interesting, please feel free to send me an email or and of course, explore the website of the project. Thank you.